Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive deep into another fascinating topic. Today, we're tackling something I think we can all relate to. Emotional intelligence.
It's definitely a hot topic these days.
It really is. And for this deep dive, we're going to be looking at, well, it's actually just this one really insightful piece focusing on the core of emotional intelligence. That whole idea of understanding and managing emotions, especially when it comes to building those rock solid relationships, both personally and professionally.
Sounds intriguing. I'm ready to unpack that.
Me too. So let's start with, the definition, right? Because our source really lays it out there, saying that emotional intelligence is all about understanding and managing those emotions, but for a very specific purpose to improve relationships. So I guess my first question, the big one is, what does it even mean to truly understand and manage all those feelings swirling around inside of us?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, it sounds simple on the surface, but when you really start peeling back the layers, it gets pretty fascinating.
Okay, so peel back those layers for me. Let's start with understanding. What does that actually mean when we're talking about emotions?
Well, it's definitely more than just, labeling your feelings as happy, sad, angry. It's about going deeper. It's about recognizing those subtle nuances of your emotions. What are the specific triggers that set them off? How do those emotions actually influence your thoughts and behaviors? Think of it like becoming a detective of your own inner world. You start to see those patterns and connections that you might have missed before.
That's a great analogy. So that's why I always get snappy when I'm running late. Okay, so we're getting a handle on understanding. Now, what about managing emotions? That sounds, I don't know, a little tricky, right? Are we supposed to just bottle everything up and pretend we're not feeling anything?
No, not at all. That's actually the opposite of what we want to do. Managing emotions isn't about suppressing or denying them. It's more about finding healthy ways to express them. It's about learning to hit that pause button between feeling and reacting, giving yourself that space to process what you're experiencing before you say or do something that you might regret later.
So it's all about creating that space, that pause.
Exactly. And in that space, that's where you can really start to, make conscious choices about how you want to respond to those feelings. It's about being in the driver's seat, so to speak.
I like that, being in the driver's seat of your emotions. So how does all of this understanding, this managing, how does it actually lead to better relationships? Because that's really what our source is highlighting here, right? That connection between emotional intelligence and stronger bonds with others.
It's all connected. When you develop that deeper understanding of your own emotions, you actually become more empathetic and compassionate towards others. You start to see things from their perspective, and you're able to really listen to them on a deeper level. And, that ability to connect, to truly understand where someone else is coming from, that's the foundation of any strong relationship.
It's like you're suddenly speaking the same language, even if you're from totally different worlds.
Yeah.
But, thinking about it, I can't help but wonder, isn't there a risk of, overthinking things? If you're constantly analyzing every emotion, every interaction, doesn't that take away from the spontaneity, the natural flow of things?
That's a great point. And it's definitely a balance, right? Emotional intelligence isn't about becoming some hyper-analytical robot. It's about finding that sweet spot, that place where you're aware of your emotions and how they're impacting your interactions, but you're not letting them completely control the show.
Okay, so it's you're aware, you're mindful, but you're not getting lost in the weeds of overanalyzing everything. That makes sense.
Exactly. And, the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. It's like learning any new skill. At first, you have to think about every step, but eventually it just starts to flow.
And that's where the real magic happens, I bet. When it just clicks and you're able to navigate those emotional waters with more grace and understanding.
You got it. And, that's something everyone can work on. It's not like some innate talent that you either have or you don't. It's a set of skills, and like any skills, they can be learned and developed over time.
And that's a really empowering message, I think, because it means we're not stuck with whatever emotional patterns we've inherited or developed over the years. We can actually change, evolve, become more emotionally intelligent.
Exactly. It's a journey of self-discovery, and it's a journey that can lead to some pretty incredible transformations, not just within ourselves, but in our relationships with others as well.
So it sounds like our deep dive today is really just the beginning. Like a launching pad for all of us to start exploring this fascinating world of emotional intelligence and see how it can impact our lives and our relationships.
I couldn't have said it better myself. The real work begins when we take these ideas and start applying them in our everyday lives. It's about paying attention, being curious, and being open to learning and growing.
So for everyone listening, here's a little challenge. Pay attention to your emotional landscape this week. Notice those subtle cues, those triggers, those moments where you feel that urge to react. And just see what happens when you create that space, that pause. You might be surprised by what you discover.
I think you'll be amazed by the depth of connection and understanding that's possible when you start tuning into the language of emotions. It's like unlocking a whole new level of communication both within yourself and with the people around you.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring.
Happy exploring.